Welcome to Your Vote Counts, a candidate forum sponsored by Capital Community TV and the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk counties. My name is Sharon Schooley and I am a member of the League of Women Voters, a nonpartisan political organization that works to educate ourselves and the public about government issues. We do not support candidates, but provide a forum for them to become better known to our communities. In this program, we will present the candidates for the Oregon House of Representatives, District 19. They are alphabetically Bill Dalton and Jody Hack. Our format for this forum is as follows. Each candidate has 3 minutes to give an opening statement outlining his or her top 3 priorities if elected. Following that, each candidate will be given 1 1/2 minutes to answer questions that have been prepared by the League members on current issues. The candidates were not given the questions ahead of time. At the end, the candidates will have 2 minutes for a closing statement in which to state the legacy he or she would like to leave if elected to the office. Prior to this, the League tossed a coin for seating and question order, so we will begin with Mr. Dalton as candidate A for his opening remarks, followed by Mrs. Hack as candidate B. Mr. Dalton.
Hi, I'm Bill Dalton. I'm, as was mentioned, a candidate for House District 19, which encompasses South Salem, Almsville, Turner, and as I like to brag, everything in between. I'll say good morning, good afternoon, and evening to the audience, because not sure when you'll be watching this. I'll sort of ask you to join me as best you can. I'm not used to speaking in front of a television. I much more enjoy the opportunity to interact. So I'm looking forward to the questions. I think the place that I would like to start in terms of approaching the question of the top issues that I would like to address if elected to this office would be in terms of why I'm here. For those of you who know me and that have had a chance to meet me, and those of you who haven't, I've spent my entire life in public service, mostly health services administration, education, consultation. Heavy emphasis in terms of my interest and my field involvement has been in mental health services, so I'm particularly interested in health and health reform. Going door to door has been an essential part of helping me to identify the issues that I would like to be involved in if I'm serving as your representative in the legislature. Talking to people who are concerned about making basic payments, about being able to put food on the table, repair a car, keep it running. Hearing from vets who have had problems accessing services, who have had problems accessing jobs, even though they feel like they've dedicated 1, 2 more years of their lives to the service of their country, and then find themselves sitting without a job to support themselves and their families. Talking to a young lady the other day who had tried 7 times to get signed up for health care here in Oregon. All of these have alerted me to the kinds of issues that I will be facing along with my fellow legislators starting in January 2015. So the issues that would be top on my agenda right now would be health reform, making it work, the economy, finding a way of increasing our job base, providing for those people who want to work, and of course education for those people who need the training in order to step successfully into the job market. Wouldn't be fair for me to leave this introduction without saying I've come to the conclusion that after 5 decades, right after the effort failed under Governor Tom McCall, it's a long time has come, and we need to take a good, hard, comprehensive, bipartisan look at the tax structure in Oregon. I think it's time that we reform a tax structure that is basically antiquated and unstable. Thanks very much. Look forward to chatting with you later.
Mrs. Hack, your comments, please.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I am really excited to be running for House District 19, which Mr. Dalton said is South Salem, Almsville, Turner, and over into the Maclay area. I'm a 3rd generation Oregonian. I was born here in Salem and lived out in the Sublimity area until about the 3rd grade, and my dad's job transferred us to Eastern Oregon, where I later graduated from high school. I then returned to the Willamette Valley to go to college. When I returned, I sought work. not only did I find one job, but I was able to find three. I worked at the local cannery, Norpac, and J.K. Gill, a local bookstore, and I cleaned houses for just about anybody who would let me in. And I put myself through college, the first to graduate in my family. And during that time, I married my husband, Steve. We've been married for 25 years and we have 2 children. Unemployment rates are the highest in our youth today, and I want my children to have opportunities that I had, and I want them to have better opportunities, and I want yours to have those opportunities. And when I'm out talking to business owners, they're not talking about expanding and growing their businesses. They're simply concerned about putting food on the table. And they're concerned about what taxes they're going to get hit with next and what government restrictions they'll be put upon them. And even if they are in an opportunity or have an opportunity to expand, they're simply scared. And they've lost that sense of security. And we've got to do a better job at getting that back. I want to see us work on our economy and build jobs. I'm concerned about having a qualified workforce. When I talk to business owners, they too are concerned about whether or not if they did decide to expand, again, it's red tape, and it's also whether or not they'll have a qualified workforce to be able to do that. I've been a private business owner myself. I've worked in the private industry. I've worked in public. I'm a competitive grant writer for a school district, so I see firsthand the challenges that we face in education. I want to see us use a more common sense approach when we do things like unfunded mandates like kindergarten, full day kindergarten. While I agree that full-day kindergarten has many benefits, I'm concerned about what 2 teachers and 2 classrooms could do now takes us 4 teachers and 4 classrooms. That puts burdens on school districts. And overcrowding becomes an issue, and we all know that that doesn't work. So the 3 things that I'm most concerned about is education, jobs, and our economy. We've got to do a better job of listening to those folks when we're out knocking on the doors and talking to those businesses and taking those voices back to the Capitol. And that's exactly what I intend to do. So again, I'm excited to be running as a candidate for House District 19, and I hope that I'll have your support in November. Thank you for joining us.
We turn to our questions. Mr. Dalton, how has your experience prepared you to be a representative?
Well, I've been working full-time ever since I was 17 years old. When I was in college, I was in a co-op program. So I worked 3 months, alternating with 3 months of study. I've come up through the structure of working for private nonprofits, consulting for and with private nonprofits. I've worked for a variety of county agencies and small counties and county consortiums. I've been the top administrator. I've done budgeting. I've done subcontracting. I've done monitoring of subcontracts. I've worked with people across the whole spectrum of needs, and have been a very successful problem solver, including some very enjoyable years as a volunteer mediator with the Marion County Neighbor to Neighbor program. So I feel my experience over the past several decades has really given me the opportunity to tackle difficult and complex problems, to help reach win-win solutions regarding those problems, to work with a wide variety of people, often coming in with very different viewpoints with respect to those problems. So I would look forward to the opportunity to take that kind of experience and those kinds of skills that I've developed over the years to the Oregon legislature.
Mrs. Hack, the same question. How has your experience prepared you to be a representative?
I think having the opportunity to work both in the private and the public sector, and also owning a small business, all has helped me prepare to be in the legislature. In addition to that, I'm hoping that I will bring a unique perspective to the legislature, and that I've spent kind of equal parts of my life on both sides of our state, having been raised in Eastern Oregon and then coming back to the Willamette Valley to attend college, and I've stayed since. I think provides a unique opportunity for me to bring some perspective to the legislature that not everyone else would have. I think that our state definitely is unique on both sides, and I think that having that perspective will be unique. I've had an opportunity to serve on some very unique boards, the Oregon Community Foundation and Chemeketa Community College and several others, and I think having the perspective of working in nonprofits and being able to move people in very diverse groups and very diverse thought processes. Different literacy events, tri-county literacy event where you bring a lot of people together, I think proves that I have the ability to move people and to be thoughtful in processes. So I think I have a lot to offer.
Mr. Dalton, or excuse me, Mrs. Hack, what are the most pressing transportation issues facing Oregon and the most promising approaches to address these issues?
When I think about transportation, I think about commerce and the importance of moving goods, and that all goes back to our economy and the importance of being able to do that. If we're going to build a strong economy, we've got to be able to move goods. And so it's very, very important when you look at the federal dollars that were no longer going to be available. And it's got to be a priority for us to take care of the infrastructure that we have built. We've got a responsibility to keep people safe. We've got a responsibility that if we're going to build a strong economy, we've got to be able to, like I said, move commerce. I think it has to be a priority. We've got to make transportation a part of our budget, and we've got to decide how we're going to do that. It has to be a priority. We've got to take care of the infrastructure that we've invested in. We owe that to Oregonians.
Mr. Dalton, the same question to you. What are the most, you have the question?
No.
What are the most pressing?
I very much like what Jody said. I think being able to move commerce is half of the formula that we have to keep in mind. We also have to be able to move our workforce. I think being here in Salem over the past number of years where we've had such budget stresses on our Chariots bus system and seeing people lose the opportunity to access both ways of getting to their jobs and access the kinds of social services and helping services and cultural activities that make for a healthy community are the two issues that really face us. The infrastructure one that Jody mentioned is the 800-pound elephant in the middle of the living room. The longer we keep deferring maintaining our infrastructure, the longer that we're just deferring a huge budgetary issue that we are going to have to absorb increasingly at the state level because the feds appear to be taking less and less responsibility. Columbia River Crossing relates directly to what was mentioned about moving commerce. We are recognized in the entire nation, and at times even in the world, as having one of the most major bottlenecks in the entire country. Right here at the Columbia River. Truck drivers coming up from Mexico, California, coming down from Canada actually try to time their trips around when they aren't in conflict with our passenger traffic over the Columbia River. I think the decision not to go unilaterally with Columbia River Crossing was an excellent one. I would look forward to working with my fellow legislators to join with our colleagues in Washington to accomplish a solution to that challenge. Thanks.
And Mr. Dalton, are there any of the ballot measures about which you feel strongly, and why?
Probably most strongly on the top two primary. I was initially very enticed because I'm a person that believes very strongly, as those of you who have read the paper recently, the editorial on Monday, where I made some comments about how much I appreciate these kinds of opportunities and how I think we need more opportunities to get out in front of our voters. So the top two primary appealed to me originally because I felt that it might bring in some of our independent voters who are becoming a larger and larger segment of our voting population, and anything that encourages participation I feel is good for a democratic republic. However, as I've heard the measure discussed and read it more closely, I'm concerned about the potential for manipulation, the loss of choices actually, and that any election that involved the state would be limited to two candidates. And I'm also appalled at the thought that county commissioners would be given the right to replace a candidate irrespective of what that candidate's party was. So these are issues that leave me feeling very concerned about that. I'm very much in favor of a very controversial measure, and that is the driver's card. I know the pushback on that. We don't want to be seen as reinforcing people who may be here illegally, but frankly, I see the need to try and increase driver safety, and driver training and insurance, I think, are two very important aspects that this measure will help address. Thanks.
And Mrs. Hack, are there any of the ballot measures about which you feel most strongly, and why?
I would say Measure 91, the legalization of marijuana, is a huge concern for me. I spent the month of June traveling to all of our public safety facilities and talking with those folks, and they are very concerned about the ramifications of the legalization of marijuana. I think it's important that we take our time and look at what's happening in Colorado and Washington. When I started out at Marion County Jail, spoke with those folks. They're very concerned, met with our sheriff. He's very concerned about the ramifications and not knowing what could happen. I traveled on all the way over to Snake River in Ontario and talked to those folks, and resounding all the way across our state, there's grave concern. So I would have to say it's Measure 91.
And Mrs. Hack, many articles are written about the negative aspects of education in our state. What do you consider to be the positive components or directions?
Okay. Since I work in a school district, I can tell you there are a lot of negative things out there, but there are some really good things happening in education. One of the things that I think is so important is the College Credit Now programs, the career and technical education programs. When you talk about growing an economy and a workforce, those things are all really, really important, and I think that Oregon has done a fantastic job. Just recently, we brought the Willamette Promise into the Willamette Valley. It was over in Eastern Oregon, was extremely successful. Again, that's a program that enables students to get college credits while they're attending high school. I think it's very important that we invest in our students and that we take the time and energy and invest in the CTE programs and continue on with the College Credit Now. I don't think that those programs get enough credit. And so I think that that's been a huge plus and a very positive move that Oregonians have made in education, and I am really proud of those things.
Mr. Dalton, the same question to you.
To build on those, I would underscore the increasing opportunities, recognition for technical and career education. I think there's been so much emphasis on completing a four-year degree post-high school that we often fail to recognize that many of the major gaps in the job market have to do with our inability to fill jobs that are available, and an oversupply of people that have four-year college degrees that they've worked for and have not been able to utilize. So career and vocational education, extremely important. A thing that I think both my opponent Jody and I recognize is the underpinning of the education system, and that is the dedication, energy, and caring of our workforce, whether it be our classroom aides, whether it be our custodians, and of course the teachers themselves and the administrators. I think all of them are working very, very hard to deal with what seem to be an increasing number of rules, regulations, and expectations, many of which come from agencies outside the local school system. So I think these are the two areas that I'm particularly proud of, and I'm very delighted to see an increased conversation about more opportunities for apprenticeships and people having the opportunity to experience real life even before they leave high school. The more that we can do that, the better educated our workforce is going to be, and I think we're headed in the right direction.
And our next question is to you, Mr. Dalton. The population is aging. So how should our government deal with the associated costs such as health, support services, mental health, and recreation?
That's an excellent question. I've been involved in working with geriatric or aging populations pretty much my whole life. That was one of my first co-op jobs. In fact, I worked in an institution where the average age of very healthy mobile residents was 95. That gave me a lot to look forward to, good examples. I think there are a number of things that we need to look at. One is that care, as much as possible, should be local, should be in the community. The whole concept of aging in place is absolutely essential from both a physical, social, and mental health perspective. Oregon's leadership on Project Independence a decade or more ago was something that absolutely put us in the forefront, and we need to continue to provide support like that, both at the state level and seek federal waivers and support for programs like that. Health reform, the goals of health reform are exactly what's needed in order to reduce costs, improve access and responsiveness, The coordinated care organizations that we're bringing into place right now is exactly what we need because of their emphasis on education, prevention, and early intervention. So I think we've got many of the tools, or at least many of the goals in place. And I think the responsibility of the legislature is to make sure that we continue moving toward those goals so the majority of our funds can be spent in taking care of people in a healthy, in-community kind of way rather than relying on some of the old safety nets like nursing homes that we did in the past.
And Mrs. Hack, the same question to you. The population is aging, so how should our government deal with the associated costs, such as health, support services, mental health, and recreation?
We definitely have an obligation to take care of these folks, and I agree that there's definitely a larger population, especially when you look at our baby boomers, and it's going to continue to be an issue that we've got to keep on the forefront. I too agree that it's got to be a local effort and it's got to be a well-coordinated effort. I'm not an advocate for just a nursing home approach. I think it does have to be an all-encompassing approach for families to have more options. I think that you see so many now that are young people like me bringing our parents into our homes to live with us, and I think that there's got to be some options for that, and whether that's some credits or something like that, I don't have all the answers for that, but I do know on the mental health side there are some grave concerns. We've lost group homes, and I spent some time visiting the Oregon State Hospital, and I've got some concern there, and I think that we need to do a better job of digging in and looking at how we're spending those dollars and what we can do to make that better. I would definitely think that there's some work that's got to be done there. We've got a responsibility to those folks, and we need to do better.
Mr. Dalton, or excuse me, Mrs. Hack, would you please provide your closing remarks at this point?
Again, I'm very excited to be running for House District 19, and I certainly hope that I'll have your support in November. And I can assure you that jobs, economy, and education will be top priorities for me. And I am dedicated and willing and honored to take on this position if given the opportunity. And I will be that voice of the constituents and the business owners. And I am honored to have the opportunity, and going door to door and talking with folks has been very enlightening to me, and listening to the concerns of those folks, of you, and meeting the opportunities for jobs and making education a priority. I'm a mother and a wife and a working Oregonian, and I believe in this state, and I am proud of it, and I look forward to the opportunity to be able to serve in the legislature and to bring forth my talents and gifts and my small business background and both my private and public sector knowledge. And I look forward to working hard in a nonpartisan way in order to move us forward and grow our economy and use the natural resources that we've been given in our state to grow and prosper. So I look forward to the opportunity, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Mr. Dalton, your closing remarks, please.
I appreciate this opportunity, and those of you who are watching are already contributing to the civic education part of what keeps Oregon strong and hopefully the nation strong. In terms of the legacy that I would hope to bring, it would really be a continuation of legacy in a sense that I've already had in Kentucky, Tennessee, Washington, Oregon, working with the public and private sectors, working in on behalf of the public with respect to the developmentally disabled, those with mental and emotional challenges, working in public health, recognizing the importance of education and early intervention, problem solving on a major level, helping 21 counties to the east of the Cascades in Washington come up with a proposal for dealing with hospital beds that had been cut back by budget reductions. Sounds quite familiar between the two states, doesn't it? This kind of success, this kind of experience has built up a level of skill in terms of helping to solve problems, in terms of helping to bring people together to approach those problems. And I'm proud of that, and I would look very, very much forward to the opportunity to do that in the Oregon State Legislature. One of the things that I've heard most frequently, sometimes happily, sometimes not so, is how important accountability is to our citizens. Certainly when they look at what's happening in Washington, D.C., there's a sense of disenfranchisement, there's a sense of cynicism. We don't have the reasons to be cynical or anything other than optimistic here in Oregon. I want to build on that optimism. I want to build that by proving that our legislature can continue to be accountable. And a part of that accountability, of course, is accessibility, and that's part of what I would look forward to as being your legislator, is being continually out there, knocking on doors, meeting with groups, hearing what your needs are, being in the workplaces to find out the pressures that you're under, learning the ways that the state can be helpful. So thanks very much.
And that is all the time we have. You have been watching Your Vote Counts, a candidate forum for Oregon House District 19. Thank you to our candidates for participating today. We hope you will watch our other candidate forums. Please see the CCTV website for times and dates. These forums are a public service to help voters become more acquainted with candidates who hope to lead our city, county, and state governments in the coming years. Ballots will be mailed beginning on October 15th and must be received back by the county clerk's office by November 4th. We urge you to exercise your right to vote. On behalf of the League of Women Voters and our partner, CCTV, thank you for watching Your Vote Counts.